Hello, everyone. That was my most feminine hello yet. I'll go back to my regular male voice, my male coded voice.
Ooh, you should take the voice coaching that Brianna Wu took.
Well, apparently people don't like listening to women talk, so it's actually better if my voice sounds a bit male for
Oh, okay.
podcasting in
Got
any
it.
case. That's like a thing that I can't remember where I read this. I think somebody tweeted about it on X. And I mean, I think that is sort of common knowledge-ish that people don't like high-pitched or young-sounding voices. But there's something about like people prefer listening to like bassier, smoother toned voices. So people tend to like to listen to male podcasters more than female podcasters. Does this sound like a real thing to you?
No, I think it does sound like a real thing. I have several podcasts that I like to listen to, and at first it was hard for me because the women's voices were really annoying to me. And then my daughter called me out on my sexism on that. Yeah.
There's
And I
some
had to
that,
get past it.
yeah, there's some podcasts that I can't listen to because of voice issues as well. I think in general, I'll listen to, like if I'm trying to learn about something or research something or catch up on something, which is usually, I think, what my podcast listening is about, then I will kind of go to whatever interview is going to help me with that. But in terms of just regular stuff that I enjoy listening to, if there's a bad voice, then I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it.
And there are plenty of podcasts. You'll find something that looks interested and it's a male voice and just really boring too. But I really don't like the feminine affectation that seems insincere to me that a lot of women pick up.
Yes, I agree. It was a real challenge for me for a long time to listen to Red Scare because I couldn't deal with their vocal fry.
Mm.
But I actually quite like them. Like I find their commentary interesting, so I guess I managed to get past that somehow. And then yeah, there's a couple other well-knowns who I won't name on the show that they're fakey, overproduced, over perky voices drive me insane and I just can't listen anymore.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, my masculinity hopefully is helping me a little bit in the podcasting world. How are you doing, Mary Lou?
I'm good. I'm good.
And,
Yeah.
hi everyone and welcome to Where Are All the Women? If you're watching on YouTube, please right now go and click the like button and then go and click the subscribe button. That would be super helpful. We'd really appreciate it. And if you want to ask a question or comment on something that you want us to like actually address during the stream, please use the super chat. I'm Meghan Murphy and this is Mary Lou Singleton.
Hi, everybody.
There's way too much going on.
No.
God, Canada and Canadians are driving me insane. And I think the most recent thing that drove me insane was, well, there was a bunch of things. There's protests against Tesla in Vancouver, which I find beyond stupid. Like, first of all, like, what is your problem with Elon Musk in Vancouver? Like, how does this man affect your life at all? I mean, I don't even understand what the problem is with Elon Musk in America, but I could see an argument for that if people are against the Doge cuts.
Right.
And I'm not even saying, I mean, oh crap, my internet's being shitty today. So sorry, everyone, if we freeze. Did we just freeze?
I don't know if we froze. I don't think we froze.
God, I don't know what's going on. I think my internet's a bit weak. It was doing this a bit yesterday, and I have no idea why. I really hope it's not broken. Anyway, if we do freeze or I disappear, everybody, sorry, I'll come back. But like, in American context, it makes a lot more sense to be incensed by Elon. A lot of people on Twitter are defending the burnings of Teslas that are happening in places like Vegas by being like, well, a lot of people don't like him. So it's like, okay, he's not my favorite person in the world either. I think he's did a really, really great, important thing by freeing us on X and by helping Trump become president. But I suppose that's probably why they don't like him in part.
Yeah, I don't think that Trump would be president if he hadn't bought X, if Elon hadn't bought X. But I don't like oligarchs. I've been mad at Elon since he put all the satellites up, and now there's so much sky pollution. I don't think one guy should be allowed to just fill up the whatever sphere. What is that? What sphere are the satellites in? The ionosphere? I'm not sure, but they're all full of his satellites now. I know. Some
the atmosphere?
They're in. It's definitely the atmosphere covers it. They're in the sky. And they go across. Have you seen them? Have you seen the Starlink satellites go across? It's the creepiest thing.
I think people have pointed them out to me on occasion, but I haven't paid too much attention.
Yeah, he freaks me out. He's a king. But the burning of the Teslas I find so ironic, because these are the same people who loved Teslas just a few years ago when Elon was their green economy hero. These people are just so easily swayed back and forth, played. He's the same guy with the same ambitions that he was when he was playing the left, and now he's playing the right, just like Trump used to be on the left, and now he's on these guys are they're ruling class men doing their thing.
The reasons I'm just Vancouver people are really out to lunch. It's just the kind way I'll put it. But there was a Tesla protest in Vancouver. I think there was one in Ottawa or something like that too. And the people organizing it are calling themselves Vancouver Against Fascism. So I'm on the Vancouver Against Fascism.ca site, and they say billionaires like Elon Musk should not have the power to shape our democracy. How is Elon Musk shaping your democracy in Vancouver or Canada? You don't have any democracy right now, actually, in Canada.
Exactly.
And that's not Elon Musk's fault. That's the fault of the people that you voted for, I guess. No one voted for the PM, Mark Carney, but you don't have democracy right now because of this crap that the Liberals and Justin Trudeau pulled. And you're about to not have any democracy in BC as a result of the NDP, who you voted for. But somehow they think that Elon Musk is having, I can't even begin to stretch my mind to think what they think Elon Musk is doing to Canadian democracy, or non-democracy, I should say. It says, and then it goes on to say fascism. Oh, right, because he's a Nazi. I guess maybe that would be their other. I don't see how his Nazism affects them either, actually, to be honest. But they say fascism fueled by money and hate has risen in the US, and it's rising in Europe and Canada. We're standing against it, the brave yuppies of Vancouver. Right. Elon Musk and his billionaire allies are using their wealth to silence critics. No, they're not. They're doing the opposite. Spread disinformation. It's so weird that they weren't mad about any of these things when these things were actually happening. Spread disinformation and undermine democracy. And it's not just in the US. Canada isn't immune to billionaire-funded extremism. We see it in our politics, our media, and the growing threats to truth and justice. This is insane, actually. These people are high on drugs.
Probably psych meds, at least.
Yeah, the media is government funded for the most part, media in Canada. Like there's the billionaires, certainly not billionaires like Elon Musk. They're not even running your media. The media can't afford to exist in Canada because it's so bad, and nobody like they can't maintain an audience because they're so captured by political ideology that the government has to top them up. But like we just went through 5 years of people's charter rights being removed, and the government trying to jail and freeze the bank accounts of people who dissented and who challenged government policy and orthodoxy. And the Canadians' ability to see and post information on social media was limited by the Liberal government through various bills. And now, Parliament is still frozen in Canada, which Trudeau did to avoid an election, democracy, so that they could install Mark Carney, who's never been elected to anything. Like, these people are high.
And he's the former head of the Bank of England. He's not a man of the people. He's a banker, high-level international banker who was installed without an election, and the elected representatives are not able to do anything about it, right? Because Parliament's been suspended by the previous prime minister. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. So,
but that's not what they're being told to be upset about. They're doing a really good job getting upset about what they have been assigned to get upset about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this it's all kind of avoidance in a lot of ways too. Canada does this often, especially Canadian progressives, where they protest things that are happening in America and ignore what's going on in their own country. They did this. I remember thinking, why are you having a BLM march in Vancouver? There's no Black people there. There are some Black people there. But, the demographics of Vancouver, any kind of racism issues that would exist in a place like Vancouver don't have anything to do with Black people. Like, it would arguably be about racism against Asians, South Asians, maybe Muslims, maybe Indigenous people.
Yeah. Right.
Like, there's certainly no racist police shootings that are happening in Vancouver. Is just not a thing. And I remember asking one friend who was participating, she was like, oh, we're just, to be an ally, or it was like in solidarity or something like that. I was just like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're not doing anything. This is just a virtue signal. Like, all of it's a virtue signal. I hate fascism and bad things and corporations. And so I'm going to stand out on the sidewalk with my Ukraine flag and my sign protesting Elon because I want to pretend, or maybe I actually believe that he's genuinely a Nazi. Like, you think he would have told us about that at some point. And meanwhile, your democracy in Canada is being totally undermined. Your economy is being fucked. You're about to lose all of your rights. This thing that Dave Eby is about to do in BC is exactly what I predicted they were going to do. Exactly. So Dave Eby is the premier of BC. He's the leader of the NDP. In the last election, in the fall, the Conservatives came very close to winning for the first time in a while. They did very well, but they didn't quite make it. The NDP won again. And now Dave Eby has announced a bill that's called the Economic Stabilization Tariff Response Act. It's another emergency bill, which, if it passed, will become legislations that will allow the BC government to do whatever they want because we're in an emergency because of this tariff threat.
It's the perpetual emergency.
Yeah, like this is what I was like, they're just going to do COVID again, and they're going to turn this into an emergency. They've already been ramping us up with all this language. It's a crisis and it's an emergency, and this is going to be really hard, and we all have to band together. And Trump is a threat to Canada and a threat to Canadian sovereignty, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, none of that's true. The Trump's tariff threats, I still think, are just like a bargaining tool. I don't for one second think that he's trying to destroy Canada or trying to destroy the Canadian economy. I think that the Canadian economy has been doing very, very, very badly over the past 10 years, thanks to the Liberal Party. And apparently people want to pretend like it's all Trump's fault, who's only been president since January. Suddenly the economy is bad, like they just noticed. And yeah, like so this bill that Dave Eby's introduced includes a provision allowing the province to bypass the legislature in order to temporarily modify the application or effect of BC laws and regulations. And he says that the legislation is necessary on account of the unpredictable nature of the Trump presidency and its potential impact on British Columbians. It's the same as the Emergency Measures Act that Trudeau invoked to shut down the convoy and also to have an excuse to ignore the constitutional rights of Canadian citizens.
So they're going to oppress their own people because Trump is unpredictable. Like, what are they actually doing to strengthen the Canadian economy, to make Canada safe and secure beyond just posturing against the world's biggest nuclear arsenal? I'm sorry, it just brings up this weird American thing in me of Canada can't fight the United States. That's insane. Like I just get this very strange, like pro USA, like go ahead and try, Canada. Like we can kick your ass in a weekend. This is just, so what are they going to do? They're just going to make life hell for Canadians because Trump is bad?
Well, yes, but I mean, what they are doing to fight back is removing American beer from the government liquor stores.
That'll do a lot.
So this is, Dave Eby announced, this was last week, I believe, that effective immediately, we're removing all American products from BC liquor store shelves. The BC liquor stores are the government liquor stores, so the government gets a cut, eh? You know, like it's all just so stupid and hilarious. And then he wants to push through this bill, which I think he'll very likely be able to, because I think the NDP, do they have a majority? Anyway, I think that he can push this through pretty easily. And I don't know if people in BC are going to notice or even care, because the things that they care about are so insane and irrelevant and not even real things. And no one seems to be paying any attention to the real things that are actually going on. Mark Carney and the Liberals are apparently surging in the polls. You know, the polls are not ever really that trustworthy, but they have regained a lot of the popularity that they lost. The party's no longer dead, which it was a few months ago.
I can't believe they pulled that off by putting
and like they've just forgot. It's like, did you just forget? Like Mark Carney's the same as Trudeau. He's not any different than Trudeau. He wants the exact same things that Trudeau wants.
He might be worse because Trudeau's a World Economic Forum darling, groomed from infancy to be this pretty boy puppet of the internationalists, right? Of the, the globalists. Carney's a central banker. Like they just put a banker in and people are claiming this is democracy. Yeah, I think that if anything, he seems possibly worse. And then does he have a trans kid? Is that going on too?
He has a they them.
Oh, he has a they them child.
So yeah, so the big debate on social media in Canada has also been around this woman, Candice Malcolm, covered a story on a website called Juno News. Candice Malcolm, I believe, is one of the founders of True North, which is one of the few right-wing news sites in Canada. So Candice Malcolm published a story. The title is, or the headline is, Mark Carney sent daughter to discredited UK Tavistock transgender clinic. And a lot of people criticized her because they said, you can't go after a politician's kids. Like, it's fair play to go after the politician, but to go after the politician's kid is tacky and trashy, zero public interest. And I thought about this for a while because I thought I didn't post about this story because I think I did feel like it's a bit weird to post about somebody's kid or, post their face all over the internet and be like, this person identifies as trans, therefore this politician, who I think is very bad. Don't get me wrong. I think Mark Carney is very bad. And I'm very certain that he supports gender identity legislation, or at least isn't going to undo it. But, the story, it is, I think it is relevant because I think, like, if he has a daughter who was trying to trans and has been writing all this, they are a writer. I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. She's calling herself Sasha Carney. She had a different name before. I can't remember what it is.
How old is she now?
I think maybe like early 20s or something. Let me see if I can find out here. I did have some notes. Who knows where I put them?
People are not criticizing the child or attacking the child. You're pointing out that a politician turned a minor child into a eunuch. Like, the politician sent their own kid to the Tavistock clinic, which has been ground zero for unethical treatment of children through the gender industry. That's not attacking the child.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can sort of see both ends, but I just think that this is such an important issue right now, and it's such the center of heated debate in Canada, despite the fact that no politicians, except for Maxime Bernier, will take it on. I cannot believe that Pierre Poilievre is still avoiding really taking on gender identity ideology. He said a few things here and there about women's sports and change rooms at some point, but he's kind of given up on that in his efforts to avoid being compared to Trump, which I think is exactly the opposite thing that he should be doing. But, so she's 24. She's a writer and a trans activist. And she's written about gender identity and written critically about, tariffs, and written about going to the Tavistock clinic.
What happened to her there? Was she given puberty blockers and a mastectomy? Like, what?
I don't think she went through with any of that stuff. I think she hasn't transed in that way, but she said that a friend of hers was getting treatment for gender dysphoria. I watched as my friend, after a year of weekly appointments, trying desperately to get an official diagnosis of gender dysphoria, was denied the diagnosis. I find that really unbelievable. I didn't know they denied anybody. And with it, any hope of top surgery because they sometimes wear skirts. And then she says, I felt a surge of jealousy every time I walked into the Tavistock for therapy and saw patients turn left towards the medical spaces I didn't feel trans enough to enter.
So he took his kid to Crazy Town where mutilation of children happens. This is fair game. But beyond that, he's he's a globalist. He is, again, Trudeau was a puppet of the World Economic Forum. This guy is high level, like on the board of the World Economic Forum, and he's a central banker. Like, I can't believe anybody any leftist supports this. What happened to the anti-globalization movement? What happened to critiquing all oligarchs and their social engineering projects, not just Elon Musk?
Yeah, and I mean, I also just kind of think that in general, the families of politicians aren't really off limits, not in practice. I think if you're going into politics that your personal, for better or for worse, private life is going to be ripped apart and everything's going to be kind of analyzed. I do think that it's sort of trashy journalism to go after politicians' kids. But yeah, I mean, this is a political issue. And I don't think the article wasn't going after the kid also. Like when you read Candace Malcolm's article, she's just pointing out that this is probably, this probably shapes and has had an impact on Mark Carney's view on transgenderism. The fact that, he's obviously okay taking his daughter to this trans clinic, and that she has these extreme leftist views and believes in gender identity ideology and promotes gender identity ideology, etc.
So things are going from bad to worse in Canada, and there's no grassroots populist movement came out of the trucker convoy. There's not an uprising happening.
No, not as far as I know. Oh, Lord. Like, I sort of suspect that people are waiting for the election. Before the Liberal Party and Trudeau pulled this and installed Carney and prorogued Parliament, there was a lot of excitement and anticipation about voting Trudeau out. And that was clearly what was coming. And I think most of those people were excited about voting Poilievre in. And people have gotten really distracted by this so-called tariff war and their anti-Americanism and their hatred for Trump and their apparent patriotism. And I think a lot of the, freedom people, like those freedom convoy people, have probably also felt a bit disenchanted by Poilievre and his rhetoric, which has started to get very liberal light and a lot less bold and a lot less populist. Because again, he's trying to play to the cities and the urban elite, and he's worried about losing popularity because of all these Trump comparisons. So he's gone after Trump, which I just think is so stupid. It's like, you don't need to play into this. The liberals are already doing this. Like, you need to differentiate yourself from the liberals, because otherwise, why won't people just vote liberal? People clearly have a very short memory, unfortunately. And, people were excited about Poilievre because he was saying a lot of bold stuff and a lot of really different stuff. And so to me, that's what I think Canadians want. And he's just attacked Trump, and now he could have been the one to repair the damaged relationship between America and Canada, because the Liberal Party and Trudeau really did damage that relationship. Trudeau is very insulting to Trump. He's insulting to Americans. When asked what the difference is between Canada and America, he was like, or Canadians and Americans, he was like, well, we're not American, which is insulting. He was caught on a hot mic insulting Trump. So yeah, Poilievre had an opportunity there that he didn't take, and I just think he's wrong, and I think that's why liberals are gaining and he's losing a bit. I still suspect he'll probably win, but it won't be by a landslide, and who knows. And then of course, I don't know if you saw that clip today, but Trump said, he said something along the lines of, he said, I'd rather deal with a liberal. He said, Poilievre is no friend of America's, which is stupid, essentially. And I'd rather deal with Carney.
Oh, that's funny. So he's trying to get Carney out. Like that sounds like an endorsement of Polyev. How do you say it? Polyev. I mean, Trump's saying he's the one Trump doesn't like, will make him soar in the polls, probably.
I mean, maybe that would be good if that happened. I mean, I just thought it was sort of an insult to them both, I guess, because, like he's saying that the Liberals and Carney are weak, but, he's saying that it would be easier to deal with Carney, but then he was also kind of insulting Polyev by saying that, he's no friend of ours, and sort of like he could have been. And I think it makes Polyev look weak, not strong, to be catering to the libtards.
Yeah, it's a mess. Ooh, the world is shaking.
Holly in the comments is incensed that I've fallen for Trump admin BS, which I don't know what she means. So I asked, and then she said, where do we start? Alienating allies, the U.S. becoming... People always try to, like, the leftists and a lot of feminists always try to insult me by saying, Meghan, you used to be smart. What happened to you? And it's really just that they don't like what I'm saying, but they don't want to say that. So they pretend that I'm dumb and crazy. So...
yeah.
Alienating allies, the U.S. becoming a full-blown oligarchy, sending those poor Venezuelans to El Salvador without due process, being in bed with Putin, sacking hardworking government employees. So I didn't say anything about any of those things, so I don't know what you're talking about or why you're angry about anything that we've specifically said on this live stream. So if you would like to address things that I'm actually saying, then go ahead. You've just listed a whole bunch of other things. I will say that sending those poor Venezuelans to El Salvador, like those were gang members now.
Mm-hmm. I think so. It's an issue. I mean, as far as I know, none of those guys had visas or green cards or were in the country legally. So if you're in the country illegally, you can get sent out. You don't have due process rights. I am distressed about the Aman Khalif.
No, you mean
oh no, I'm saying the wrong
Mahmoud Khalil.
I am upset about
that's
Mahmoud
okay.
Khalif
I know
as
who
well.
You're talking about
the Olympics, but Mahmoud Khalil. I'm tired. That guy has a green card. He has full constitutional rights. That distresses me, but people seem to forget that Obama ordered military assassination of Americans and extraordinary rendition of American citizens. This is not new under the Trump administration to be denying people deemed enemies of the state due process. But it is upsetting. I'm concerned about.
Well, he hasn't been charged with anything, and nobody really knows what he did. I think they're sort of semi-vaguely accusing him of supporting a terrorist group, but there's not necessarily evidence of that. And yeah, he has a green card, so he actually does have rights. Like, people seem to be getting incensed about the deportation of illegals, which, it's not nice, but if you're here illegally, then you're going to get deported if you get caught, whether you do something illegal or not illegal. I've had friends who've been deported from Mexico because they ran out their visa and got caught.
Completely different.
And but also, like, if you're here and you're not a citizen, like if you're in America and you're not a citizen, then you need to be like really careful about committing crimes. I don't think you do have access to the same rights that American citizens do. So I sort of am not understanding the anger about the deportation of these Venezuelans, particularly. No. I'm not here in Mexico doing a bunch of like criminal activity or starting protests or doing activism or supporting organizations that are anti-Mexican or trying to destroy the Mexican government or something like that. It's just, I would feel I don't have that kind of entitlement. And I actually know some white women here who've come here and tried to start doing activism and protesting things and start messing with people's business and the locals. And it made me so livid that I could explode, because I'm like, you don't have to be here. Go back to California. Don't come here and start messing with people's lives and trying to change things and having your stupid fucking bougie California protests to, force all these businesses to shut down because they don't have the right licenses, and you're, putting all these local Mexicans out of work who are working for these places. But anyway, needless to say, I wouldn't do any of that. But people don't seem to understand that, if you're here illegally, if you're in America illegally, then you can get deported. I mean, what rights do you think that you have if you're here illegally? The Mahmoud Khalil thing, I think is a bit more sketchy, because I think he does have rights, and he should have free speech rights.
Yeah, he apparently, it appears that he is being denied all due process rights, and that he's being held on, because of his speech and assembly. And the guy, from my perspective, seems like a jerk. Of what he was doing on the Columbia and Barnard campuses were creating a hostile environment for anyone who disagreed with him politically. And I don't think it was actually helping the cause of the Palestinians for him to be acting the way he was acting. And something maybe should have been done, like trespassing charges or something. Like, he was preventing people from going to class. He was preventing people from accessing libraries. But no, I don't think that he should have be being held in a secret detention facility and not being given access to communication to his loved ones. And anyway, that's intense.
Well, can't they just expel him? I mean, I don't think those protests should have been allowed in those universities. I don't think that people should be allowed to take over university buildings and, shut down the university and prevent students from getting to class. I think that those protests should have been shut down. And, maybe the students who were organizing them, if they continued to try to organize them, they could be expelled. But I think behaving as though he's a criminal is without due process and without charging him with anything is unfair.
He wasn't a student. He was a grad. He was an organizer of students, but he wasn't currently enrolled, from my understanding. Yeah, he could have been charged with trespassing. He could have been. There are many ways they could have gotten him off campus, but no. He's being held on really dubious charges, which are essentially hate speech against Israel, and he's an enemy of the U.S. because of his state. Of his speech. And this is anti-First Amendment territory going on under the Trump administration. And so many people, possibly foolishly, voted for Trump because they felt the Democrats were so hostile to free speech. And Trump the administration's kind of blowing it on free speech, which is not surprising.
They're not blowing it. I mean, they're doing some things in this context that I think are sketchy and should be challenged. But in general, I think that they have done a lot of good things for free speech. I don't think that they're as bad as the Democrats. I think that's a stretch. But
I think they're passing. They're setting precedent that could then be used to federally go after people for misgendering. I mean, they're setting precedent. What was the executive order criminalizing anti-Israel speech?
Isn't this specific to the fact that he has a green card, though, or no?
I don't know.
Isn't that part of the argument? No, I don't know what she's syncopated in the live chat says. How do green card holders have full rights? They can't vote.
They have due process rights. Yeah, they can't vote, but
I thought that if you had a green card, you had the same rights as a citizen. I guess that's not true. No, I guess there's stipulations. I guess it's like, if you're on a green card, there's certain rules that you have to adhere to that are different than if you're a citizen. Is that right?
I'm gonna have to look that up. But his due process rights are being.
I think it is different.
Are being violated, and he has that. He has those rights. But again, this is not new. Like, this has been going on my whole life. Executive order to combat anti-Semitism. Like, this is concerning to me. This is executive order 13899. I mean, it seems to put criticism of Israel into a special category that isn't covered so much by the First Amendment. I think we need to talk
I think
about
because
that.
it's connected to terrorism. I think that's right? Like,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
the
it's,
war
they're
on terror.
saying that, because they're saying that, I'm not saying
Yeah.
this in defense of it. I'm just saying I think that that's probably what the argument is, because, you know, if you're supporting a terrorist group, then you have to be deported. I think that's what the argument would be.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can see that, but that's not what the executive order says. But the war on terror has been used to curtail civil liberties in the United States since 2001. And before that, I mean, during the Clinton administration, the war on domestic terror and the firebombing of Waco, the Ruby Ridge shooting, the cracking down on the sovereign citizen movement. Yeah, all they have to do is claim terrorism, and then people's civil rights are suspended. So I think it's important to have the discussion that this is concerning, and this is anti-First Amendment territory. And I do think that it's almost impossible to have an honest conversation about Israel in the United States. People are either so anti-Israel that they are completely blinded by that position, or they're so pro-Israel that people won't sit and acknowledge that Israel in many ways does seem like an extension of the United States in the Middle East. Like, what exactly is our relationship? What's our favored nation relationship? Can we have like an honest, critical conversation about that that's not just people yelling at each other? And I say that as someone very concerned about the spread of Islam in the world, and very concerned about I am a Zionist. I think Israel has a right to exist. I think Israel is the only place in the Middle East where women have any rights, where they're,
And gays.
And gay people. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that Hamas should be destroyed.
Absolutely.
Obviously. Well, but I do think that you're right, that the conversation is silly, and just because you're critical of Israel doesn't mean you're an anti-Semite, for example.
No, not at all.
Some people who are critical of Israel are anti-Semites, but certainly not all of them. Probably not most of them.
Well, the vast majority of Middle Eastern Jews now live in Israel because they've been driven out of all the surrounding countries since the foundation of Israel, and calling for the destruction of Israel is genocidal toward the majority of the world's Jews. So that, it is concerning to me, the amount of anti-Semitism, but I don't think anti-Semitism should be illegal, because I am a free speech absolutist, and people can believe whatever they want, which is hard for me to reconcile, because I really, really, really despise Islam. I really don't like it. The more I learn about it, the less I like it. It terrifies me that it's taking over Europe. It terrifies me that it's spreading so much in the UK and Canada. Even it's really spreading. I find it a absolutely horrific, just a totalitarian force that ruins societies whenever it takes over.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think most of the Free Palestine activists are stupid, so there's that.
Right.
Andrew in the live chat says, Meghan, you are still very smart. Thank you, Andrew. I think he's defending me against Holly's accusations of being a dummy who went crazy because I like the Trump administration. Meghan, you are still very smart, and hopefully the next PPC candidate in Vancouver East. The PPC is the only federal party that wants Canada to help end the Russian-Ukrainian war. I am planning to be the next PPC candidate in the Vancouver East, but I need your help. Because before I can get my name on the ballot, I need to submit. I am going to be the next PPC candidate in Vancouver East, but before I can submit my nomination form to Elections Canada, I need to collect 100 signatures from people who are eligible to vote in the riding in Vancouver East. So you don't have to be registered to vote. You don't have to be planning to vote for me. You don't have to support me. You don't have to like me. You don't have to anything. You just have to live in that riding and be eligible to vote in that riding. And then you just need to print out and sign a form. It's very easy, and have a witness sign it as well. And then you can return it to me electronically. You can scan it or take a good quality photo with your iPhone and return it. Because I think for some reason I think that this is going to be even more challenging than actually getting votes in my riding, because once I start my campaign, I suspect there have to be some people living in Vancouver East who want to vote for somebody who knows what a woman is and doesn't think that there should be murderers and rapists in women's prisons, which is sort of my main thing. This is why I'm trying to run, because I'm like, nobody else is going to talk about this, certainly not in Vancouver, and in probably almost every single riding in Canada. Nobody else is going to talk about this. Like the only person who's really taking on these issues again is Maxime, and there's probably a few other PPC candidates here and there, maybe a few other conservative candidates here and there, but in general, nobody's taking on gender identity ideology. And if I don't say something or do something in Vancouver, particularly in Vancouver East, nobody is. But yeah, I need to collect 100 signatures before I can officially get on the ballot. So if you're in Vancouver East or people in Vancouver East, please, please, please. I'm going to post this form. I haven't announced my candidacy yet, so I guess I'm doing it right now. But I'll do it in a more official capacity soon. But I'm going to post it in the live chat, and I'll post it in the show notes after the show. And I'll also post it on my Substack at meganmurphy.ca. But yeah, if you guys could really do me a solid, that would help, because for all we know, there might be an election called on Monday. It could be soon. If it's true that the Liberals are surging in popularity, then they very well might call an election soon. Nobody knows for sure. But anyway.
So you just need 100 signatures?
Yeah, but it's Vancouver East is like Portland. Vancouver East is like mini Portland.
You can't find 100 people.
I'm sure I could if I was there physically, but I'm not. Like if I went and and people will go out and collect signatures on my behalf because I'm not there right now. And, eventually, depending on if the election isn't called for a while, then I can go to Vancouver and collect some signatures. But, it's not going to be people that I know. Like, it's going to be going to a church and saying, hey, do you think that little kids should be getting mastectomies and being sterilized and told that they're born in the wrong body? Do you support? It's basically all it is people consenting to my name being on the ballot also. Like, it's not even signing on, but people in Vancouver in that riding will see it in that way. They'll see it as signing on to my politics. Even my friends will see it in that way, or they'll be worried about, I don't know, going public or something like that. The names aren't public, but obviously it'll be on a government record. Of course, it's going to Elections Canada. But all it means is that you support democracy, and you support, even if you hate me, that you support other people having the right or the option to vote for me if they want to. I'm not going to win. This is an NDP stronghold. This has been an NDP stronghold for as long as I've been voting. They win by a landslide every single election. The Conservatives will maybe get, a few thousand votes. The Liberals will get, maybe like 5,000. Like no other parties come close to getting the number of votes that the NDP gets in this particular riding. Certainly the PPC, which is a tiny little party that hasn't won a seat yet. It's not a threat. It's about starting a conversation and giving people who feel politically homeless, who feel silenced, who feel like they care a lot about this issue of women's spaces and women's sex-based rights, that at least they have somebody that they can support. Because I remember feeling like that when there was finally a PPC candidate in my riding that I could vote for who was challenging gender identity ideology and who I knew wasn't going to win. But I mean, it didn't make any difference who I voted for or if I didn't vote at all in that riding, because the NDP was going to win. So I was like, great, at least I feel like I have somebody I can vote for, and I'm proud to vote for this person.
Yeah. I hope you get 100 people. Yeah.
I mean, I think we can do it, but it's going to be some work. And I'm going to have to work hard on soliciting signatures electronically until somebody can get there physically.
Oh, I wonder if the list will be leaked. I could totally see that happening of someone leaking the list of signatories and people, having their bank accounts shut down for
Well, don't say that. I mean, right. It's not, everybody has an inherent defense built in, which is that they're not signing because they like me or want to vote for me or like you can tell Elections Canada you hate my guts. Yeah. But just that you consent to my name being on the ballot because, you believe in democracy. There's lots of worse people than me who've gotten on the ballot before. Trust me.
I can just hear them saying that, the word democracy is a fascist dog whistle.
Well, yeah, I mean, Vancouver East, these are the people who started this Vancouver Against Fascism Tesla protest. They think that Elon Musk is a fascist and a threat to their democracy. So they're, not the smartest bunch. But I know there have to be people living in Vancouver East who aren't like that and who think that those people are crazy and who think that men can't become women and that men shouldn't be allowed into girls' change rooms and women's prisons and to be able to compete as women in sports.
Where are all the Canadian normies? Like that's what I don't understand.
In rural places.
Got it.
I mean, I'm sure I know there's some in Vancouver. There's definitely some in Vancouver, but like in the BC election, it was the rural places that went conservative, and for the most part, the urban, Vancouver, Victoria, that went to the NDP.
Well, it's exciting. It's your move into politics.
Yeah, I think
it'd be crazy. Fun. Yeah. You can see it's like an amazing move. Like you actually won, and then you had to. Yeah.
I won't win. I promise you I won't win.
But what if that happened and you had to serve in Parliament? And I know
I would be pretty choked, I think. I don't want a career in politics.
I know.
For the record, I want to have a conversation that nobody else is having or will have. And I just think, for me, like I've already been through this hell. Like I can handle it. I think that a lot of other people in Vancouver and BC couldn't do it, like they couldn't take that kind of heat. Whereas I've been taking this kind of heat for whatever, like 10 plus years.
Right.
All the people who hate me in Vancouver have already hated me for years. It's nothing new. And I'm well versed in this topic and I'm not scared to talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. I have a big platform, so I think it's a good opportunity to get that conversation going more so than really anybody else could in Canada, to be honest. Like I can't think of another turf in Canada with a platform that I have and that who has been talking about this stuff for as long as I have and who is in a position to take this on in this specific horrific lefty hellhole riding. Hopefully I'll get to do some debates with some of the NDPers.
That really isn't the campaign slogan of a winner of, put me in as the representative of this hellhole riding. Like,
well, I'm not going to win. It's impossible. Like it's never going to happen. I'm not there for that. But I like it. I like that that's a situation because it provides me with a lot of freedom, to have, to say what I want to say and have, it can be about the conversations. Like I don't have to play a politician, right? I can just say what I think for real and force people to have this conversation and to address this issue, which they've been avoiding addressing for so long, or that they think everybody around them is too scared to bring up or is in agreement with them. And to give people some representation in that regard. Yeah.
If you get on, is it called getting on the ballot there? What is that? So like if you get the signatures, how does it work? Will you have to fly up there for debates?
Yeah, I'll probably go and do some events, like hopefully do some events with Maxime
Mhm.
Bernier and, do what I can over there, with my safety in mind. I'm not going to go door
Yeah.
knocking. Somebody will try to murder me. And I don't feel safe in Vancouver anymore, so I'm not going to go move back there full time. It's not safe for me at all. Like,
I know. Well, it's just
but I will
like
for sure go back there and do events and debates if I can and do media stuff if I can and things like that.
like, oh, what happened to you? What happened to you, Megan Murphy? It's like, I don't know. I got death threats and rape threats for saying men can't be women. And then you locked me in my house. And then you said I shouldn't be allowed to buy food if I didn't get injected with a GMO product. I don't know. What happened to me?
Why? Well, you left Vancouver, so people try to use that against me. Like, you left Vancouver, you left Canada. Like, what should I have done? Like,
Right.
hid in my house and be like stalked and harassed and threatened and screamed at on the street? Like, why should that be my life?
Yeah.
Just because you're miserable, I don't want to be. I don't want to.
It'll be
Don't want to be in danger every time I leave my house.
it'll be so exciting to see, just the response if you're running. I think it'll be great. You'll get 100. You'll get 100 signatories.
Yeah, let's go. We've got 900 people watching. I bet most of them aren't from Vancouver, but if any of them are, and you're in Vancouver East, you have to sign. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
This is your moral obligation. Yeah, I think it'll be fun, and it's now or never. Like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
America was at a turning point. If Trump hadn't won, I think that you guys would all be in a very different, dark place right now. We're at a turning point in Canada. I don't know if it's going to go in as good a direction as it has in America. But this is when we have to try. It's now or never. I mean, if the Liberals get in, that's it for you guys in Canada. I'm saying you guys, Canadians. I think if that happens, you should all look into leaving the country, to be honest. That's it for your rights and your democracy and your free speech.
Mm-hmm. Which, are already in very short supply.
Yeah. Anyway, so I posted that form in the live chat. I'll do it again. I'll post it in the show notes. And I feel
I'm
like there was
excited about it. I really want to see your campaign merchandise.
I'm really excited too, actually. I think it's going to be fun. I think a lot of people are going to be triggered, which is fun.
Yes, it will really trigger the actual gender critical left.
Oh, Lord. I'd forgotten all about them. They're going to be really triggered. I know the irony is that, like, because I was thinking it's going to trigger all the leftists and the wokies in Vancouver, but you're right. It's also going to trigger a lot of the leftist radical feminists who really have it out to me because, clearly I'm the one that they should have it out for. They should be really working to constantly be spending all their energy slandering me and telling each other that I'm rich and stupid and that
Right.
the only reason I'm saying all these things about free speech and whatnot is because somebody's paying me. Like, I know I've repeated this 100 times, but like, I make less money now than I did when I was adhering to the radical feminist leftist ideology because all those women pulled their support for me. And I've been blacklisted by everybody in Canada, in Vancouver. I've been blacklisted and ostracized by women that I supported and worked with for years and years and years and years, and who don't like me for whatever reason because of my political change or because they feel competitive with me or because they all spend so much time lying about me and slandering me. And it's just weird. It's like, really, you're going to go after me? Like, I say what I think for sure. And it's not like I'm super polite and nice about it, but I'm not the enemy here. And the level to which these women seem to despise me because I went towards independent thought instead of ideological cultishness is
right.
All those women have more money than I do. Like, I'm not you know, I don't make very much money. I'm an independent writer. I don't know how much they think that pays, but it's not that much. Speaking of which, you guys should all go over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber so that I can survive and thrive.
Absolutely. And buy some t-shirts off of you put your link up it's called Fourth Wall. Is that
for my merch?
Yeah, for your merch.
Yes. Oh, yes. So that you can buy my gay and retarded shirt. That's great. It's more helpful to become a paid subscriber because, it's only $5 a month, and that provides me with a reliable income so I can continue to do my work. Or even just go over to Spotify and find The Same Drugs if you're a fan of The Same Drugs on Spotify, and click the follow button. That helps. Cheryl in the comments says, Lear still supports you. I support you. Thank you. I also still support you and Lear.
Yay.
Cheryl says, we're radical feminists. As far as I'm aware, does VRRS not Vancouver Rape Relief? No, once Lee left Rape Relief, I've talked about this publicly before. They kind of turned on me because of there's a lot of younger, pretty woke women in the collective, and they didn't like my stance on free speech, and I think they accused me of racism and all of those things. And, they've worked very hard to blacklist me and ostracize me too, because I, stepped away from the left, I guess, and from radical feminist ideology. So, which is just so counterproductive. And I really supported them and promoted them and platformed them and got them tons of donations and things over the years, and worked with them and invited them to speak with me on panels, despite the fact that I didn't agree with so much of what they said and did. I mean, the irony is, it's like, well, I didn't really like your politics either, and yet I still, had you on my podcast and promoted you and supported you and invited you to speak on panels with me. And, the only reason that Hilla Kerner was testified at the Senate against Bill C-16 when I did is because I invited her too. I had been invited by a conservative senator, and I was like, oh, you should bring Hilla to speak because, or somebody from VRR, because they've maintained this woman only policy and they can speak to that. And they've been so ideologically rigid that they've backed themselves into a little tiny corner of irrelevance, right? They're not really part of the conversation on any of this. I've totally refused to support me since. So it's unfortunate. I mean, I still do really support the work they do. Of course, they do a lot of really important work for women and have for many, many years. And, the legacy of Lou Lakeman is still there, despite the fact she's gone. But she would be livid she was livid at the way that they were treating me and refusing to support me and blacklist me and ostracize me. So it's sad.
It is sad. It's great while it lasted. I wonder if the buzz around the Amy Hamm decision would help get you on, get you the signatures you need and just get some more. I wonder if people are mad about that.
I don't think anybody in Vancouver East has any idea who Amy is.
But isn't she from Vancouver?
No, she's from New West. She's from the suburb. She said she's from Vancouver. People always say they're from Vancouver when they're from the suburbs. I don't think she knows people in Vancouver.
Okay.
But yeah, she's from a suburb of Vancouver. But I don't think people who are maybe really politically engaged or online would know about that. I'm very doubtful that anybody in that riding would know who she was, but who knows? But I mean, yeah, I think in general, there have to be people in that riding who think that we need to stop pretending that men can become women and to protect women's spaces, and who will sign on at least for that, even if they don't want to vote for me.
I hope so. I'm excited. I'm excited about your campaign. And I'm going to write the screenplay of you actually winning and what it's like when you go to Parliament.
No, that's not going to happen.
I know you really don't want that to happen. It would be so funny.
I feel like I'll be lucky if I get like a couple thousand votes. I hope that people vote for me. I mean, it's always nice to have an option that's not insane to vote for. Like, you know, when I only had the option of the NDP or the Conservative Party or the Liberals, I was like, well, I guess I'm not voting.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a good time. But yeah, there's no way that riding is going to go to anyone but the NDP, I'm afraid.
You just need to read The Secret and stop thinking negatively.
Well, I'm not thinking negatively. I'm thinking positively. I don't want to be a politician.
Okay.
I'm just trying to affect change in the way that I can. I think this will help.
It's exciting.
Anyway, do we have anything else we need to address? Your course is coming up.
I'm so excited about my course. It's going to be wonderful. I'm doing a 16-week Herbs of Enchanted Family Medicine course. It is a materia medica class where we will go through some basic botany, talk about over 150 medicinal herbs, and learn all about them, the science and lore of herbal medicine. So you can sign up on my website, which is enchantedfamilymedicine.com.
Okay, awesome. I put that link in the show notes. I'm also posting it in the live chat. It's a really good deal. Mary Lou is a magical herbalist, and I think that you'll be thrilled if you take the course. I am at www.meganmurphy.ca, or just search Meghan Murphy on Substack, or all those links are in the show notes on YouTube. And if you want to stay in touch and keep up with all of my writing and, of course, my campaigning and the podcast, become a subscriber over there. Become a paid subscriber, please, to support my work. I do put stuff out there for free, but really appreciate paid subscribers. This is how I survive. I don't have any wealthy funders or government grants. No one's paying
sugar daddies. I've seen that.
No, I've given up on men.
Sugar
they're
daddies.
More trouble than they're worth. So no one's really no one's even paying for my dinner.
So subscribe on Patreon and buy a t-shirt.
Yeah. You can go to the merch shop at fourthwall.com. I'll post that's in the show notes too, but I'll post that in the live chat to get your gay and retarded t-shirt. Again, if anyone's listening and in Vancouver East Riding, sign on for me and you'll get to see my name on the ballot. And won't that be a really big nightmare for some people living in the Vancouver East Riding?
It's going to be great.
Okay, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Meghan Murphy. This is Mary Lou Singleton, and we're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mexico time, 6 p.m. Pacific now.
Yeah. 7 p.m. Mountain.
No, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Did I get that right? People watching?
I think you got it wrong because it's 7 p.m. my time, which means it's 6 p.m. Pacific.
So is it, but Eastern...
We're 9
p.m. I'm going to look this up. I'm pretty sure. I think that 7 p.m. Mexico time is 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, no?
No, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Oh my God. Am I really this big of a retard? You're right. Eastern is 2 hours ahead of me. Okay, I am that big of a retard. We don't have daylight savings in Mexico, so that's my excuse.
I'm so jealous.
We're just on the same time all the time. I think I put the wrong time on a whole bunch of places. So those people, sorry, missed watching it live because I can't keep track of all the time zones. Okay, we'll be back next week anyway. At whatever time this turns out to be.
We'll be here.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks everyone. See you next week.
Okay, bye.